Welcome to 5 Star Weekly. The new boys are in, the latest schedule is out, but how do we think they'll do? Let's chat about it all next. Welcome to the show, 5 Star fam. I'm AJ, and this is Marc. Before we get into it, become a member of the notification squad by hitting the bell next to the subscribe button on YouTube. This segment is sponsored by Thinking Man Tavern, a cozy Decatur neighborhood pub. Grab a tasty beverage from a wide variety of selections and a plate of something delicious from the menu. To go, check out Thinking Man Tavern. Follow our Twitch for new streams and surprises on Tuesdays and Thursdays, starting at 7 p.m. on twitch.tv/ATLUTDfantv. So guys, let's get into the latest from this week, and we now know the 2020 season is going to continue. There's going to be 6 matches that we know of, at least scheduled. There will be 18 total to continue the season in 2020. There will be home and home matches. And yeah, our group, we will be playing in these 6 matches, will be 2 times each in Orlando City, Nashville, and Inter Miami. Now, it's a pretty interesting group, obviously, because there are 2 pretty much inaugural sides, or expansion sides rather, and then you have, of course, Orlando City, who are pretty hot right now in a sense. But Marc, what do you think of the group that we're playing, and the possibilities in each, in our chances against them?
Well, I think from an Atlanta United perspective, there's a lot of intrigue. Obviously, for logistical reasons, these teams are the closest to us. And I think also for that reason, at one point or another, these teams have been considered potential rivals. So, you got into Miami and Nashville, 2 relative unknowns. We really haven't seen much from them. And of course, you have Orlando, who made a run to the final. And I think Orlando's probably looking at Atlanta right now, kind of at a crossroads with an interim manager and thinking, this is our chance, if not now, when? But, they played well during the tournament, couldn't bring home the COVID Cup. But, it's very interesting, I think. And, I think these matches will be highly competitive, at least.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be interesting, not only because, of these expansion sides and not really knowing really what they will be offering so much as of yet as what we know, but Nashville, we do know that, I think defensively they will be pretty all right, but it's going forward. That's where I think their issues, ultimately lie, and we'll see, how well they get on there. Inter Miami, there's still roster building, and there's possibilities of semi big names coming in. We'll get to that in a sec, but and also that I think they have almost too many players in terms of too many players to senior roster spots. I mean, you have LGP, who still hasn't been placed into the squad yet, and so someone's got to go from their senior roster spot then. Because they were pretty much full in Orlando. And then, Orlando City, how deep are they really? Because you kind of saw that they were exposed a good bit, in terms of at least, against Portland. Definitely, you saw the kind of, they have a strong 11, but, if past that strong 11, the gas, how much gas do they have in the tank? If you have to play 3 games or you have to play a game every 3 days, it's gonna be a rough one. And Atlanta United have historically kind of proven we've been pretty decent in kind of a short amount of time, playing matches pretty much every 3 days. Evident in September of 2017, evident a good bit of, I think, September of 2019 as well. So, it's, kind of short span of between games. I think Atlanta United have shown our depth is, something that can really contend against other teams. So hopefully that is the case. But yes, so like I said, they will be home and home matches, and so they will be played at home stadiums. They will be on August 22nd is that first match against Nashville SC. The 26th is at Inter Miami. 29th, Orlando City. September 2nd in Inter Miami. September 6th at Orlando, and then September 12th at Nashville. And something to note is that there will be no fans in the stadium. That's only for this group. I mean, there are some other groups that will start to implement fans into their games, but at least in these areas, COVID has hit a little too hard. So I think it's probably wise to not be tempting fate right now. And so, speaking of those teams that will be playing in front of fans, FC Dallas and Nashville will be playing against each other. In full transparency, we are filming this on a Wednesday, and yes, they will be starting and kind of pretty much picking up their MLS's back tournament games that they were not able to play. They'll play each other twice, but it will be, essentially they will be playing in front of fans. They will be the first pretty much major league sports team in America to be playing in the pandemic, essentially in front of fans. And so, pretty amazing. I mean, I don't know if it's the best idea, but it is going to be socially distanced. There will be a waiver for them. They will pretty much sign pretty much their rights of not suing any of the teams that have fans inside their stadium. So, I mean, they're covering their bases, that's for sure. But what do you think? Of at least fans being at stadiums already.
Yeah, honestly, it seems a little bit soon, especially when you're talking about in Texas, especially when you're talking about one of the teams, I guess it's both of them, that were kicked out because of, an outbreak in the squads. So, hopefully they, I guess the key to having fans, I think, is just the protocol and enforcing it, and so, for teams who want to have fans in the stadiums, how are they going to go about that? I think, obviously, Atlanta United sent out that survey to the fan base about, would they be open to attending matches? So you got to figure that Atlanta is at least looking at this, seeing how it plays out. We know that they're not going to have any fans for this phase of games, but maybe the next phase they'll consider it, depending on how things are playing out with the pandemic, most importantly. So it's from personally, I think it's a little too soon, but if they consult with the relevant health experts and like I said, enforce the protocols if they're able to enforce the protocols that they need to, I guess it could work.
Right. Yeah, but I think paramount to all of it is still absolutely saving lives, and so. It's absolutely, if that's what their aim is, then I think their hearts would be in the right place. But something we haven't mentioned is that yes, there will be MLS Cup playoffs. There will be 18 games total past the MLS's back tournament. Excuse me, they will be aiming for an MLS Cup. So. Yeah, I mean, they're kind of aiming for a little bit of normalcy, and I'm sure that they'll try to, try to get something of, just this crazy, crazy season as much as this season finished, and that's, we'll see. That's pretty much why they're playing only 6 games in terms of scheduling out that far, and if it's gonna be against the likes of these teams again because they can't go intra-region, I mean, it really will be to be seen. I mean, it would be crazy, like just this whole kind of Southern Derby with all these teams over and over again. It will be a little bit like MLS 1.0, where you're just sick of seeing these teams. But there will be definite issues of, I think, the kind of balance that will be, I think, super necessary in kind of how you structure ultimately these conferences and when you put them in the playoffs. But there will be more playoff spots to reflect that, but it is I mean, still gonna be funny nonetheless to see so many teams in the playoffs. And, it'll be even more interesting, I feel like, to see which teams don't make it. So, but anyway, so moving on from that, CONCACAF is in discussions with those involved to resume Champions League, and they're working on a range of options, including the possibility of centralizing the remaining matches in one city. And of course, Atlanta United still have to face Club America at home in that second leg. But, what incarnation of this it will be? Will it be in a bubble as what they're trying to do and maybe do something like MLS is back? But, what do you think of, what's going to happen after hearing, them say that?
So I think, first you have, of course, the ties that haven't been completed, including ours. I think for the integrity of the competition, they probably just have to go ahead and complete that. I think the way it would have normally, obviously without fans. So probably have Club America come, for example, in our tie, have Club America come play that match, whatever. In terms of the rest of the competition, I think the bubble idea does make sense. You see, like in Europe, there's 2 separate bubbles for Champions League and Europa League. And so I think that's probably something CONCACAF can pull off. I imagine it would be a location like a kind of centralized location, like California, Texas, Mexico. They'll have to arrange the hotels, the proper protocol and all that. But I think it's within CONCACAF's, range to be able to, I think they should be able to work something out to finish the competition. Obviously, if you do that, it's going to be single legs. It's going to be kind of like a World Cup style tournament instead of the traditional. But at the end of the day, we understand what we're up against. And, I think it's just completing the competition, is the key, obviously as safely as possible. But, in terms of the competition not being what it normally is, I think, we all be understanding of that, and we all know that at the end of the day, all these competitions in 2020, it's just we know what's happening. So
right, and so it will depend when it will be. That's very I think telling. It might probably just at the end of the season probably is you have the most flexibility, but it might not work out with some of the other teams in that sense. So, really, they have a scheduling kind of snafu that they really have to figure out here. But I think, also if, the Club World Cup, I think that's, if that happens, that could be something that impacts this, if this really completes out or not. Because, if there's not a Club World Cup, then the onus and the absolute need to have a champion might not actually be there, and so you don't have this residual effect essentially that could happen, and that's something to look to as well. But they will have just a headache on their hands trying to figure out this for sure. But a quick note is that the transfer window August 12th has opened, and so it will pretty much run for about a month, and we'll see what LA United could do. But yes, we have been rumored with not only players and coaches, but a player that still hasn't been confirmed yet, nor has it gotten any closer. As of last week, it was saying reports that he was on the verge of signing, but he was also linked with the likes of Celta Vigo in La Liga. And so far, Jonathan Gonzalez, that's still the latest, is that Celta Vigo are apparently in on him as well. And he's also made Monterrey's 18s. And so, that's pretty much the update on him, is that, he's still not an LA United player. And that's, for some, it's very much a bummer, because he's someone that I think could, help LA United very immensely in the midfield. But, so in terms of a head coach rumor, we finally have, I think, maybe someone that I think is legitimately interested in the Atlanta United job, and that's Gustavo Alfaro. So he's a 57-year-old Argentine. He's most recently Boca Juniors' manager, but he was pretty much there for 11 months, and he is no longer there. He apparently has serious interest in the Atlanta United job if the situation were to present itself, and that's via CBS's Roger Gonzalez. And he's apparently regularly analyzing footage of the five-strap matches. He's intrigued by living in the United States as well. Hearsay is that he's got some family here as well in the States, and so he visits pretty regularly. And he's also unfortunately maybe been, unfortunately, eye of the beholder, but has apparently been shortlisted as one of the candidates for Ecuador's gaffer spot, and that's also according to Gonzalez of CBS. So if we want him, we might have to act pretty quickly. But, there are some things about that. I mean, let's first get your opinion, Mark, and, we'll go from there.
Yeah, like I said before, I think the most important thing is what his style is. In terms of the profile, we heard the rumor that they'll focus on South America in terms of recruiting a coach, and so falls in line with that. But I'm curious to see what his style is. I mean, I don't get a chance to watch the Argentine league too much, but Boca in recent years, I don't know if they're necessarily known for playing the style that Atlanta United would like to play. So that's where I think it'll be interesting. But at the same time, I might be wrong about that, or he might change, or he might adjust to the players that he has. So it would be interesting. I think the rumor that he's been analyzing film is a little bit interesting as well. But in terms of profile, I think it does make sense in terms of why Atlanta United would be linked to him, or possibly even looking at him.
Right. I mean, so he's a guy that, is a guy that will set up the team to win. He is a winner. He's, kind of also coached an Arsenal side, but it is, of course, the Argentine Arsenal side. But he coached kind of minnows to some cup wins. So at least in those Copa Libertadores places. And so, it's one of those where, he's a guy that maybe is too defensive. He plays apparently to transfer market, wherever transfer market is in terms of where they're based. They say that he... His formation preferred is a 4-4-2 with 2 6s. So that's basically 2 defensive midfielders. And that's kind of, not exciting, really. I mean, that's obviously a little bit more defensive than we probably would like. The one criticism, at least according to Wikipedia, of him at Boca was that he didn't have an identity of when he was with Boca. So that's maybe setting some alarm bells and saying this isn't exactly maybe the most ideal candidate. He might be a guy that can set the team up to win, but is he ultimately the attacking style head coach that we want? Is he the guy that ultimately gets us playing swashbuckling football? And I think I have my doubts. I mean, this is just the first one essentially that I think is a serious one. So let's keep looking. I don't think we should bite on the first one that's interested, but a guy that definitely has a bit of a pedigree in in the leagues down there. So someone that we could be looking at, but maybe ultimately we pass on, and hopefully we do. But moving on from that, new signing Eric Lopez. He is set to travel to the United States. That's according to Roberto Rojas. He said that he's going to join his teammates at the end of the month. And so, it was originally going to be around now that he was going to be arriving, but now he's going to be arriving to Atlanta United 2, quote unquote. at the end of the month. But yeah, he still, yeah, like he said, he's expecting to play for the first team. So we'll see. We'll see how we really roster gymnastics that. But yeah. So anyway, also speaking of in terms of new boys, Kubo Torres, he's wearing number 31. I mean, I think that's interesting in the regard that, you know, we have just so few kind of open numbers on the team, and, you know, he has to go all the way to, yeah, number 31, which is, yeah, usually not your starting striker number, but, you know,
right.
It is, he's joining in the middle of a season, so as to be expected, there will be a shortage. But yeah, he spoke to the media today. He said, "I'm here to score goals. I want to stay in MLS for a long time." Torres said he wasn't concerned about coming to play for an interim manager. He said that's part of football, and he explained that he described Stephen Glass as an intense coach because, yeah, he has been pretty much training with Atlanta United for about a week. And yeah, I mean, it's you know, it's good to see that we have a striker on board that probably will be our starting striker that has a little bit of a run-up into the games coming up. So, you know, that's at least some good news. But, you know, that's just how it goes. You know, he was just brought on. So, anyway, moving on from that, the MLS is Back tournament, of course, finished. It was last night. It was Tuesday. And the final, it was 2-1 Portland Timbers against Orlando City. You love to see it against Orlando City. But, yeah, I mean, you know, I think many of the Atlanta United fans, they like to have a good laugh if, you know, someone that's purported to be a rival or at least set up to be a rival in this league against them is, you know, failing in finals. I mean, and, you know, their trophy cabinet in MLS is still empty. You know, they of course, I think, might be counting their Orlando Invitational, but no one else is. So it is very, I think, you know, much of a relief probably from some of the LA United fans to see Orlando fail. But what were your thoughts after the final?
Yeah, it was an intriguing final. Yeah, obviously it was close. Second half goal decided it. And it was just, I think it's so typical Portland too, to win in these type of situations, you know, knockout situations and whatnot. So, I guess you have to give Orlando some credit, you know, but I think this stretch of games was probably their best stretch of games, probably in their club's history. I mean,
yeah,
you know, they played with an identity. You know, they played some good ball, and you know, Nani looks. I mean, I think Nani has always looked good, but it's just a matter of getting him help, him and Mueller and others. So, you know, will they carry that confidence into this next stretch of games, or will the disappointment ultimately sink their confidence? We'll see.
We shall see. I mean, yeah, because we have seen them, I think, start off hot in a season, and then, you know, their fans come into our mentions. They all talk up a big game, and then, you know, they fall off in the middle of the season, and then, you know, they there's less a whimper at that point because, yeah, their tails are tucked between their legs, and so. Yeah, it will be very interesting to see. Obviously, like we mentioned earlier in the show, yeah, I mean, you know, they may not be as deep of a team as some of the other teams, and so a game every 3 days pretty much will be a pretty decent test for Orlando City. But, yeah, I think nonetheless, it is, I think, something we should applaud MLS. We were skeptical for the most part on this podcast about, you know, the plausibility of them being able to pull this off. And I think, yeah, with the last pretty much month without any positive COVID-19 tests, it's, yeah, they pretty much pulled it off. I mean, the bubble worked, and, you know, it shows that, you know, you can... If you're wanting to move forward in this way, this can be a way of getting some of the games done in some of the, pretty much money owed to their investors essentially. But yeah, I mean,
Right.
also,
I'll
I
also
think,
say too,
yeah, go ahead.
I think the players deserve a lot of confidence because plaudits because at the end of the day, in order for the bubble thing, any of this to work, I think the players have to cooperate, follow the protocol, and they did. There was a Portland Timbers player, I forget who basically opened up about his home life and how his son, this week or so, has been calling him crying, asking when he's going to come home because he hasn't seen him in so long, and so that's tough, and so it is. A bit of a mental toll, a bit of emotional toll. You got to remember these players, they can't really go anywhere or do anything. And it is, I saw a WNBA player mention this, it is also a little bit invasive, so I think we should remember that these players made a huge sacrifice to pull this off, and they did. So yes, I think congratulations, I think all around.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, not only the players, but also everybody involved in staff and, hotel staff even as well. I mean, league, media, everybody that was down there for the entirety and even for a part of it. They followed the protocols and they were, pretty much they helped make this happen. And, I mean, big applause to all of them. But also big applause to the Black Players Coalition. Pretty much the entire time there was pretty much bringing more awareness of the Black Lives Matter movement. And if Mark, you want to speak on that a little bit more.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that opening match, as I think we all remember, there was a huge display from the Black Players Coalition and the whole league. The kneeling and fist raised in the air for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. It was powerful. It was touching. I was almost kind of brought to tears a little bit. And I think that was certainly my favorite moment of the tournament. And then Black Arrow FC, founded a couple years ago, they kind of, they're a group that kind of does projects focused on the intersection of African American culture and soccer. And they actually got some behind-the-scenes footage. They were invited into the bubble to shoot some of this footage, get some interviews, and they launched it. They launched it last night. I think a clip of it played at halftime of the final, but the video itself is 8 minutes and 46 seconds. And I just thought that
powerful.
Was so powerful, poignant. When you really sit there for that long, you're watching this, and at the same time, you're thinking about George Floyd, and so I think they did a great job of capturing the message, capturing the moment, and I highly recommend it. Like I said, it's Black Arrow FC. They're on all the socials. Yeah, I think like I said, I think for me that was the biggest thing I got out of this tournament. That was something I was curious to see is how would MLS approach the the social climate, how would they respond to it? And I think they responded well, most importantly, backing the Black Players Coalition. Don Garber has also talked a lot about, addressing inequalities in coaching, in front office staff. And I think it's great that he's bringing that up, and I hope that the league follows through in addressing that. So, it's kind of the thing that gives you hope. And I mean, as a fan, as a Black fan, I really, it sends a really powerful and positive message, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And so, the message is inclusivity and also, more equality for all. And that's, something you want to see from not only the league, but everywhere. So, great to see MLS really, I think, step up to the plate a little bit, and hopefully they step up even larger and continue to do so. But so let's move on from that. And LA United 2, unfortunately, we are filming this again on a Wednesday night, and news has come in that they lost 2-0 against Tampa Bay Rowdies. And they also recently they fell to Birmingham Legion 1-0, and then before that they drew 1-1 against Charleston Battery in a match that, stoppage time. Curiously, how it went that long. They pretty much, I think, were robbed. They probably should have gotten the win there, but I think these losses or draw kind of notwithstanding, they're playing a lot of kids. They're playing a lot of academy players, and you have pretty much the fact you have a 15-year-old left back in Caleb Wiley playing these matches as well. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I don't think you should be expecting LA United 2 to be winning these games outright all the time when they're pretty much getting a lot of these academy players and prospects a lot of game time. I mean, against pretty much grown men, people that might be pretty much double their age. It's pretty insane. But
and there's the schedule as well. I mean, like, that's what, basically 3 matches since the last time we recorded, right? So it's they're gonna have to yeah, exactly. So there's a huge squad is gonna have to be used, and you can see they've been dipping into the academy
for sure. And I think you've seen Mackie Jopp, you've seen Jack Gurr, and others really, I think, show some things in this time. And of course, also Jackson Conway, who I think has been a little bit injured recently. But either way, there's a lot of very, I think, tasty talent to be kind of keeping track of at Atlanta United too. But moving on from that, Atlanta United, they picked up a couple of awards in the ATL Sports Awards. That's, I think, an 11 Alive kind of event that they're putting on. So they won the Top Sports Moment category for the win in the Campeones Cup. And they also won the Outstanding Atlanta Athlete with Joseph Martinez in 2019. So also very great to see. Moving on from that, the Atlanta United Foundation, they announced this week that the launch of Station Soccer's 4th pitch is at Lindbergh MARTA Station. And that's, I think, definitely one of the more bougie of the stations for sure.
Right.
But I think it's still, it's, you could potentially, you could go to Tongue and Groove after you play, sweat your ass off at Station Soccer right at Lindbergh. But or you could go, what else is around there? You could go to Taco Mac and grab some wings afterwards.
Wings and beer,
exactly. So it's a decent spot, but it's also, I think, mainly it's for these underprivileged kids as well. And so in the neighborhood, hopefully, that is the focus, and the onus is on them getting a place to play, because that's really what matters. I mean, if you hear from, like, maybe 10 years from now, a kid that grew up playing at these Station Soccer pitches and now is playing for Atlanta United's first team, I mean, that would be insane. So that's kind of pretty much a long-term goal of this, if it could happen. But anyway, let's move on from that. Joseph Martinez, he gave a little sentimental nod to Miggy at his locker, where he pretty much, there's the little sticker of he and Miggy doing the Dragon Ball fusion, and it is, it just puts you in some feels, man. Puts you in some feels, because it just out of nowhere. He's just like, he's showing that. I think maybe, I don't know, maybe it was his wife's birthday or something like that. He was just trying to show some love or something. I'm not sure, but either way, he was feeling pretty nostalgic that day. But anyway, so let's move on from that completely, Atlanta United completely, and talk about, I think, a pretty, important transfer if it happens. All sources are saying it's going to happen, in Blaise Matuidi, who is pretty much going to move from Juventus, storied Juventus, to Inter Miami. And I mean, a lot of people thought it was maybe going to be a designated player type of contract, but apparently he's only going to be a TAM player, and that is huge, because essentially they still have open spots for a designated player. I mean, that's, to bring on a player of the quality of Matuidi, who, not only World Cup winner, Scudetto winner, obviously, but I mean, a guy who has kind of gone from, just powerhouse club to powerhouse club. He was formerly at PSG as well. He's just a guy that I think will bring a lot of quality into this league. I mean, what were your reactions when you heard that Matuidi? Well, he's not an outright superstar in the world. He is known, I think. In if you know him.
Yeah, right, exactly. No, I mean, he's been one of my favorite players for a while now. Even when he was back at PSG, quality box-to-box midfielder. I was surprised. I was actually very surprised that they signed him, especially on a TAM deal. That's a steal. And now you look at Inter Miami's midfield. They have Pizarro. You add Matuidi to that. That will make them a very tough customer. I think he can bring a lot of quality. I think MLS, it's a league that you do need the legs. You do need to be able to cover ground, and I think he can still do that for them. And so it could be actually a really smart move, something that maybe holds down a spot in the midfield for a few years and really helps Inter Miami establish themselves as a top team. So it's a really good move. I can't even hate on it. It's annoying because I'm curious to see if he is able to come in before our matchups. It does seem like maybe there will be a time conflict, but yeah, if he's able to play against Atlanta, they'll be really tough.
It will be very tough. It's basically, you pretty much want there to be some sort of time conflict, but he absolutely does bring just the level of MLS even higher. I believe he is only 33, and so, I mean, he's not, terribly old, but he is definitely up there in the age in terms of for a footballer. And so it is, I mean, him in this league, I think a lot of players will be struggling to keep up with him because he is not only pacey, he knows how to find space. He may not be like the most technical player, but he will just run circles around you essentially. And the amount of times that he's going to be available, finding himself somewhere to, pretty much lay it off to, a playmaker for them, it makes them immediately just that much tougher to play. So that's a huge, I think, bombshell in that he's just a TAM player. Anyway, so moving on from that into his former team in PSG, or one of his former teams anyway in PSG. So moving on to world football, they were playing Atalanta in the Champions League, and Atalanta is pretty much like our sister team in name, and it's you kind of want to see like a plucky team be able to maybe beat the big PSG. Maybe they are a farmers league of sorts sometimes, but it is I think ultimately they were just too much to handle. And, just the combined transfer fees in the talent that they have in Neymar and Mbappe, they just, they came back and they put away Atalanta. But I think it's just, me personally, why I want to talk about it is because Atalanta, they were, they could have made some strides, and, they were that kind of underdog that maybe a lot of people were rooting for to do well. And maybe pip a win in the Champions League and get the trophy, but it is what it is ultimately. But go ahead.
I mean, they had a big season. I mean, they pushed Juventus for a bit, eventually kind of fell off, but they scored the most goals in Serie A. I think the most goals. I don't know if they set the record, but it was up there. And then, especially with the format, it being single leg knockouts, I think a lot of people are fancying Atalanta. They're in good form. You really only got to win the one leg. It's only 3 matches, I think, because they're in the quarterfinals. So really only be 3 matches to make a run to the final. And it was an intriguing game. I mean, the first half, Neymar had a number of opportunities to open the scoring, and he didn't. And then Atalanta does. And then, fast forward to the 85th minute or whatever it was, Atalanta's still leading, and PSG just comes out with the sucker punch. Also intriguing was Kylian Mbappe. They weren't sure if he was going to be healthy. He comes off the bench, still, I think, bothered by his ankle, but he made a difference. And Mbappe is just a huge talent. He's still only, I believe, 21. And, I think, I was telling my friends in my group chat, somebody's got to come get him, whether it's Real or Barca. I know it's like boring, but in reality, Mbappe's really only going to play for 1 or 3 or 4 teams in the world. Like, he's just such that big a talent. I would love to see him in a more competitive league, so we can see him in more meaningful matches. But this was the first match of the quarterfinal round. Like I mentioned before, it's all single leg, and so if this is a taste of what's to come, I'm excited. There's some exciting matchups. You have Atletico Madrid versus Leipzig. You have Barca versus Bayern, which could be a final. Really. So it's I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how the rest of the Champions League plays out.
Yeah, definitely exciting games ahead. But that pretty much does it for the news, and a little bit of housekeeping in that, on Twitch, we still will be doing watch-alongs during match days, and also maybe a few, maybe some surprises as well. So stay tuned on there at twitch.tv/ATL UTD FanTV. So moving on from that, let's get into, we'll revive a previous segment in Buy or Sell. And simply, we put up an Atlanta United topic, and we say if we buy or sell it and give our reasons why. So, first topic is, Kubo Torres will bag 10 goals or more in 2020 for Atlanta United. Buy or sell?
Well, that's an intriguing one. 10 goals, I think, is possibly gettable. I don't think he will, though, because I think if he told me that he's going to start most of the rest of the 18 matches, then I would say sure. But I think he's going to be in competition for that spot with Eric Lopez, and so I think we'll see a bit of a timeshare. So I don't think he'll play enough to get to the 10 goals.
Yeah, I think not only Eric Lopez, but also Adam John, because that's another option there, and also we don't know if for sure Eric Lopez will be playing for the first team, even though he says he will. But it's also, I think, that Kubo Torres hasn't really played a lot of football recently. He has been coming off the bench, essentially, and he came on a free. And so, it is one of those things where, he needs minutes, and he needs also match fitness, and he doesn't have that so far. And so, he'll have to kind of build that up, and so I think we'll see a mixture of the strikers, and so 10 is just a little bit difficult to get to. But if they can spread the goals around, and I think that will definitely allow us to win some matches, and then I think that is vital. Next topic is that Ezequiel Barco will be sold in 2020. Buy or sell?
That's a sell for me. I know before the season we were talking about maybe in the summer, but obviously that was before the pandemic. And so with the lack of football, I think, and then also with the just lack of there being a market, you got to remember European teams are affected by this too, financially. And so unless Atlanta United were essentially giving him away, I don't think he'd be sold until next summer, because I think Atlanta United won at least $25 million from the team who wants to sign him. So I just don't see it happening this year.
Yeah, I also sell it. I mean, it's just it could be maybe next year if he balls out this year, and the beginning of next year. But I think it's just one of those also he was maybe linked with the likes of like Fiorentina in Serie A, but I don't think they're stumping up $25 million for Ezequiel Barco in this form in the pandemic. It just seems a little far-fetched. So I think we'll have those young DP kind of rules coming in and all that too. So we'll still be able to bring in, I think, big talents. So I'm not too worried that, we have to make some space by like selling Ezekiel Barker or something, like maybe a forced move. It's just not going to happen. So last topic in buy or sell. Jurgen Damm will start more than 12 matches for Atlanta United in 2020. Buy or sell?
Yeah, that's a sell for me as well. I mean, I think because the positions I think you most likely see him play, which would be right back or right wing, there's competition there. There's one, arguably two players ahead of them in each of those positions. If De Boer was still here and we were expecting a three at the back, then maybe I think he would have been a wing back. But I get the feeling that we're going to move away from the three at the back. So I doubt he'll start that many matches. I think he'll appear in most matches, though.
Yeah. Probably someone off the bench, someone that's terrorizing defenses at the end of them, at the end of matches, rather. And I think I also sell that it's more than 12 matches because, if we're playing 18, I don't know if he will start that many. I think, I agree with what you're saying in terms of his positions. Maybe if we find some way to play two men up top, maybe he starts with a striker. And maybe there's ways for him to, kind of run in behind defenses all the time and try to, see what he can do. Maybe one-on-one against, a goalkeeper. But I think, ultimately at the end of the day, it's hard to see where he's an out-and-out starter. So, it'll be interesting to see, but I think it's sell. So, let's move on to the mailbag, and you guys send in these questions through IG story. Please continue to do so. We might answer your question in the future. First question comes from NUFC Reese. NUFC Reese asks, do you miss Miggy?
How can you not, man? I am really glad, though, to see Miggy doing the business for Newcastle, leading the team in goals. I mean, obviously Newcastle doesn't have necessarily a prolific goal scorer, but it's it's everything that you get with Miggy. It's the work rate, it's the pace, of course, and for him to even add a few goals, I think just makes him a really good all-around player. So I definitely miss him for sure, but I am glad to see his career kind of going on that upward trajectory, and I hope it continues. Yeah,
I echo everything that you just said, and the fact that he had that song "Hey Miggy" written about him, it just makes me miss him even more, because I think came up with that nickname for him in terms of Atlanta United fans. So there's added nostalgic factor for sure in that. Next question comes from Hagris20. What are your expectations with Glassy at the helm?
Well, we had a quote from Kubo Torres. He called him an intense coach, and I think that's not necessarily a bad thing. He's also, from Stephen Glass himself, he's mentioned about kind of going back to, I think, one, with the man management, approaching it in a way that players are comfortable with. But also, I think he probably understands how the players want to play. I mean, he's been here since the beginning, or at least for a while. So I guess what I really want to see is just, players in positions that they're comfortable. That's, I don't, in terms of a record or, a kind of sophisticated style, I don't really have those kind of expectations, but, will we see that interim manager bump, like we normally see? I think it's possible.
Yeah, I think for me, it's also, you don't really expect maybe, wins and losses with an interim manager. You really just expect, hopefully, that he can right the ship and kind of pretty much do the opposite of what the previous coach that was let go was doing. And so far, he's pretty much identified, those issues and looks to be rectifying those problems. And so, the fact that he's talking about kind of repairing the culture between the coaches and the players, trying to find more of an attacking style. I think, I want to see that implemented, and I want to see the team play with more happiness, really. And so that's my expectation of Stephen Glass and what he can do. Hopefully he can pull that off. Next question comes from a few bands. Chance on the Halo board for a limited capacity crowd. It would improve the atmosphere.
It would depend on, I don't know, because you got to be on top of it. You know what I mean? Hopefully it wouldn't get repetitive too. I don't know. It's I'm on the fence about that because I feel like it could get boring. You know what I mean? But I think it's something, I guess, worth floating out there. But
yeah, no, I mean it's a good and interesting kind of idea. I just wonder though, because there will be a lack of a supporter section. There will be not a capo. It will feel like a very different type of atmosphere for sure. And so, maybe having those chants up on the board can help some of those people that when they're in the stadium and then if they don't know the words, it can help them. And maybe there is a capo that's like, because there was that one game where, I don't know if you remember it, where you could hear the capo inside the entire stadium. It wasn't exactly the most pleasant experience the entire time, but it did happen. And that is a possibility of something that could happen in the future, whether ideal or not. I would say no. I think the chant on the Halo board is probably still better, even though they might not know how the tune goes. But yeah, I mean, it's not anything really to help the atmosphere if and when we do have more people in the stadium. I'm for it. I'm for kind of creativity of ideas. So, next question comes from the Poor Wafer. He asks, or they ask, who would be your number one target when the transfer window opens?
Well, I mean, look, I like the if LA United is going after Jonathan Gonzalez, I like that move. You know, like I've talked about it a little bit before, but I think it's a position that we should be targeting. I think he's a good age. I think he still has potential. So in terms of, I guess, realistic / kind of dream moves, I think that's a good move, and I hope they're able to complete it. I mean, the fact that if it's true that Celta Vigo is looking at him, I think it's a testament to his talent, but also that's very well, I think, well, certainly a top 4 European league is going to trump MLS. So, that's the one we just have to bite the bullet. But if they can sign Jonathan Gonzalez, even for a year or two, I would like it if they did that.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, that'd be a great signing because that's in, sure, it's a congested bit of our roster, but we don't have someone like him. We still haven't replaced the production of a Darlington Nagbe. While he would be different than Nagbe, he is a step towards the right direction in being able to, distribute the ball, being able to connect the lines. And so if it's not Jonathan Gonzalez, hopefully it's a player that can replace Nagbe's production. So that's who my number one target would be. Whoever that player is, I mean, that's for Carlos Bocanegra and Darren Eales to be able to figure out and best supply the team with the right players. But next question comes from Joel HP. With all the manager rumors, do you think Atlanta United should sign a manager ASAP or take their time?
There's no reason to rush a manager in for the remainder of the 2020 season. I think, I've said this before, the most important thing, I think, is having a manager in place for the beginning of 2021. And I think it's good that they're starting the coaching search and then having those discussions now. You got to imagine they're conducting interviews as we speak. And so I think, I think taking time makes the most sense. Give the manager a full off season, so you can have a clear idea of what direction you want the team to go in, clear idea of what kind of players the manager wants to get. There's no reason to rush. I've said this before, I think the last process was rushed, and so for me, if Stephen Glass has to finish the 2020 season, that's honestly fine by me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there are a lot of more managers maybe available in this window, but it is definitely, maybe the right one isn't available in this window. And so, we might have to take our time. And if that's what we need to do, if we need to wait until, maybe next year, I don't know. I mean, if that's what it takes to find the right guy, then it's totally fine, because 2020 is very much still, like we've said, a bit of a write-off. So it is just, you kind of roll with the punches, and if positive things happen, then fantastic. It's gravy. But yeah. So last question comes from Stinky Tofu 90. Will this season be the season that Atlanta United lose to Orlando? And he goes on to say, "Oh, fuck you, Orlando."
If not now, when? I mean, like, that's, I think, really, honestly, objectively, like, you look at Atlanta United, you got an interim manager, no Joseph, arguably the weakest midfield, arguably the weakest midfield that Atlanta has had in its existence. And I don't know, like, yeah, Orlando, they looked good. They looked like they had an identity. So it's got to be now, right?
Yeah, I mean, right now it's pretty much, it's like when you pretty much give someone a free shot when you're fighting them. I mean, it's like, yeah, go ahead, punch me in the face. My hands are behind my back. Go ahead. And yeah, I mean, if they can't do it then and, beat us, then it's really, I think, the laughter becomes even louder against Orlando City, at least from me, because, yeah, like I've said in the past, their fans have, kind of done some unsavory things, not only to this channel, but also to, some of our fans as well. So, yeah, it's mutual. And so if there's something that, they can't do in this time when our chips are down, well, I'm going to laugh pretty hard. So
and we're like the knight in Monty Python right now. It's like, oh, merely a fresh food. We're like missing our limbs, like.
Exactly. Yeah, we're trying to walk on two legs when we only have a stump for one leg even, and yeah, it's ridiculous. And so they have every chance to be able to beat us, but I think we have the ability to be able to bounce back. We'll see what Stephen Glass can do, but it'll be definitely very interesting in the coming weeks for sure. So that pretty much is the entire show, except for the question of the day. And the question of the day is, will you be going to the matches even if there are only 3,000 to 5,000 people socially distanced inside the stadium? Would you go? Let us know in the comments below. So that is the entire show now. And yeah, remember to like, share, comment, subscribe. For Mark, I'm AJ. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video.